Hi everybody, I'm James and welcome back to VR Bump. Now normally on VR Bump what we do is we'll go through the good and bad aspects of a game and essentially construct a review video. But in this case we're taking a look at Rec Room, which is a completely free to play game and it's also in early access, so it doesn't feel quite right to do one of our traditional reviews of the title. Instead, what we're going to be doing is looking specifically and talking specifically about the Quest 1.1 edition update that released on the 22nd of February. For those of you that somehow have never heard of Rec Room before, go and download it right away either on the Oculus Store or through Steam because it's really good and completely free. But in short, it's effectively what Nintendo probably would have made if they weren't dawdling around with weird overpriced portable consoles. The quickest way to describe it is essentially Wii Sports in virtual reality with full motion controls, along with a social environment, avatar customization, and since the 10th of February, but more recently updated, a really awesome quest mode. And that's the impetus for this video. To join the quest mode, you simply party up with a bunch of people and launch it, and off you go, you're doing a quest. And that's one of the key things with Rec Room, one of the things that the developers have done extraordinarily well with this title is how seamless and smooth everything is. I loaded up Rec Room having not played it for a while, immediately just went into the lobby, punched a couple of people, which I don't recommend doing in real life, you probably end up being murdered. But within 2 minutes of launching Rec Room, I was in a game with 3 other people firing my toy bow and arrow at little goblins. And though it is a little bit childish in presentation, I know some people find it hard to get over that, it just felt fantastic. It played fantastic, and though in many ways the gameplay is somewhat simplistic, the social aspect that the developers have encouraged so much really carries things through and makes it much more enjoyable than if it was just a generic dungeon crawler that you were playing by yourself in single player. Especially nice is how seamlessly it works with both the Oculus Rift and the HTC VIVE. In our little party, just by coincidence, we had a guy that was playing with the Rift, and for some reason he'd set his cameras up a bit funky, and so he was on a sofa whilst only having one tracking camera, but he managed to get things working and he was following along and doing his job to get us through the quest. Though it was a little bit disconcerting having a Scottish guy at groin height at all times. I had to be very careful that no embarrassing accidents happened. One of the things Rec Room does really well is just accommodate all the different types of players that might come to this. It does use teleportation movement, which I know some people don't like, but that again makes it really comfortable and means that if you're just using forward-facing VR, it's not a problem. Another thing I noticed that they introduced since the last patch that I checked out is the ability to do quick tap rotations, again accommodating people that might be sat down, people that are disabled, or people that are just using front-facing peasant VR who don't have a full room scale setup, which to be fair is probably a lot of people in the United Kingdom because we all live in little garden sheds. In terms of the actual gameplay mechanics, we'll start with the weapon mechanics. I spent most time at the moment just using the bow and arrow, and it's a really solidly executed bow and arrow. The further back you pull it, the faster the arrow goes and the further it will go, and the less of a arch trajectory that it will take. You aim it with your left hand, but you can also tilt it with your right hand. Very much like the bow and arrow that's in the lab demo, well, the Valve's The Labs VR experience. Perfectly fine, really enjoyable to use and really satisfying to shoot targets at a distance. Also really good to shoot your teammates with and then have them scream at you, and you can just go and revive them by slapping them on the back of the head. As you all know, that's how you revive people in real life. You know, someone's dead on the floor, everyone's crying, just give them a swift chop to the back of the neck and they'll be straight back up and everything's hunky-dory. Now, other than the bow and arrow, there's also a sword and shield. The sword is a little bit weird, you know, it's that sort of VR flimsy sword where you just flail it around like a lunatic and it kind of works. If it was PvP, it would probably be a problem and be a bit annoying, but for PvE, it's perfectly fine and it just makes sense in this sort of childlike context of this game. And then aside from the shield and the sword and the bow and arrow, there's also the occasional weapon drop. We won't talk about them in case there's a surprise in there for people to have fun with. All in all, the weapons just feel polished. It just works. Rec Room on the whole is just really polished, and it's just fun to play and interact with, as I say. Now, in terms of the AI and the spawning, They've done a nice job of having the AI come down from the ceiling and sometimes spawn behind you and catch you off guard. It's not that exciting. It's not AAA AI. It's not AAA AI. It pretty much just comes at you. It's like being in World of Warcraft all those years ago. It's rather simplistic, but again, it works in the context of this game, and it's difficult and varied enough that you will get caught off guard by them. You will have to communicate with your teammates, and you will have to do some fancy teleportation to avoid getting hit by them, because some of the enemies fire fireballs and various other things at you that require you to use a little bit of timing and a little bit of coordination to get through the levels. Now, it's not to say it's completely perfect. There are some opportunities where you can teleport through stuff quickly and avoid things to move forwards. And at times when you lose your weapon from either dying or being disarmed, it can be a little bit tricky to then pick it back up, and things can get a little bit confusing. Though I'm sure some people could argue that just adds to the difficulty and tension of the game. Certainly adds to the screaming at your teammates because you've died at the same level for the 10th time in a row and you just can't get past it. So there's not that much more to say other than you need to get it. It's just really good, really polished, and at its core, it's just fun. And that's all that really matters when it comes to playing games. Now, as a side point, I think what's really interesting with this Rec Room Quest mode is it just shows the potential for this type of genre in VR, and how good I think it's going to be in the future when we have something that's more visually along the lines of what I'm more interested in, or something with a bit more depth in the weapons and with deeper, more complex mechanics, maybe with spell casting. It's just going to be absolutely extraordinary. This is really good as it is now, so just think what it's going to be like in 2 years' time. It's going to be unbelievable, and gives me a lot of hope, because I don't normally like this style of PvE gameplay, but for some reason I do in virtual reality. I think it's just how cohesive it is in first person, and how everyone's got the voice mic there, and the communication just works really seamlessly. It always seems to be a problem with traditional MMO games, even when you play them on using TeamSpeak, Ventrilo or Mumble, there just seems to be something off with it. But having it all just work in the game naturally with hand gestures as well as the voice communication, it adds a whole new level to it, a whole new layer, and utterly transforms this genre for me at least, and I'm sure it will for a lot of other people. But that's pretty much summarises everything we can say about the new Rec Room update. As I say, it's a sort of update to the update that happened on the 10th. Of course, the other game modes in Rec Room have also been updated and polished. It still has the paintball mode, still has the frisbee mode, and they're all really good fun to play and just really casual Wii Sports in VR, essentially. I don't want this video to go on forever, so we're going to round it up and pack it up, put it in a box, throw it out the window. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, don't forget to follow us, and don't forget to drop any questions or anything you want us to cover in the comments. We'll make sure we do in future videos. Until tomorrow's video, thanks for watching VR Bump, and goodbye everybody.